Welcome back to Fitness Manifesto. I am one of your hosts, Kim, and joining me is
Justin. Welcome to this new show that we've started, which focuses on life, awesomeness, friendship, and fitness as a whole.
Oh, I don't know if I want this on tape though, Justin.
Kim, the reason
I'll just go, la, 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 la.
The reason I'm always laughing at you is one, because you're a funny person in general, but two, like you're like a caricature of a person because sometimes it's hard to believe you're real because not only do you just talk about anything, the crap that comes out of your mouth
no
is amazing.
filter. No filter, Justin.
But it's even beyond no filter, Kim. It's so unique that it's enjoyable. And plus, I don't know, you just make me laugh.
Oh, okay, I'll take it. I'll take it.
I mean, please do. And take it as definitely a compliment, not an insult.
No, it takes a lot to insult me. So,
well, maybe
whatever.
This episode we can try. Is that a challenge?
Justin, good luck. But first off, I do have to say welcome to our audience. Justin, how rude of you not to start with that.
Kim, shame on me. And first of all,
Yes.
Hello to you and hello to our audience.
How's it going?
Well, first of all, I got to tell you, it feels really good because we've been kind of off sync in terms of recording and everything else. We're back to normal time. We're feeling great. And Kim, we have a fairly big announcement to make that we are going to be changing our drop time.
But pause.
Okay.
It's not all back to normal because you literally did not move. That was perfect. We are still in different locations. We're still doing remote.
Well, let's go through this here for a second. So poised to freaking crush it today. Excited. And about 9:30ish, 9:50, something like that. I walk inside and my youngest son is sitting inside and I look over at him and he's watching something on TV and he's got Chick-fil-A and I'm going, oh, darn it. He's sick. And so I'm not really sure what's wrong with him. I know that Kelly's taking the doctor later today, but it ruined our chance to record today in person, not to record, but in person.
Right. And I do also have to point out to our audience, for those that can't see us, we also synced shirts, not even on purpose. See?
It just shows that our cycles have synced up, Kim, that we've synced up our cycles.
I know you get your man period when I get my period too. I mean, I get it.
And it's bad, but we're all dealing with it in our own ways.
We all just go with the flow. How'd you like that?
Unintended. We got a huge announcement for you guys. Kim and I discussed yesterday that we're going to actually be dropping our main episode on Wednesdays now.
Yep, we are going to switch it to Wednesday instead of Thursday.
Which I think is actually a great segue for what we're going to talk about today. Most people wait till New Year's, right? They wait till some sort of special time, some demarcation point to say, look, I'm going to do this now, as opposed to just taking the action and not waiting for a special time, but just doing it. I think that goes back to the fact, though, that most people find either goal setting or even changing, that kind of stuff, just an abomination and a pain in the butt.
Right, they do. But then also by people who make New Year's resolutions, whether it's changing your eating or getting into a workout, you do the opposite of what you're not going to be able to do for a while. And then once it comes up to, oh, I got to give all this up and change all this, you're like, you're just setting yourself up for failure by setting a specific date. Just do it.
Yeah, and don't wait. And I think the point that you just made in terms of resolutions are interesting too, because one of the things that I talk with my clients outside of here in my personal life is that being so black and white actually sets you up for failure in terms of when you set goals and you set up a resolution, the idea of from here on out, I'm never going to do this again, without having a gray period of transition, almost always regresses back to the old habit or to the old belief or whatever it is, because you're not giving yourself a chance to succeed. You're basically just saying, I'm stopping here and I'm going to go this direction, but without really either defining your why clearly or setting a path to success. Right?
Honestly, you're going cold turkey from here on out. Right from the start, if you don't have the willpower to do it, which let's be honest, not a lot of people do. Not a lot of people can be like, well, I'm done, and then not go back. Most people are like, just a little bit, that'll be okay. That's not fully breaking it. And then the next day you're telling yourself, oh, just a little more. By the end of it, you've lost your whole whatever goal you set for yourself.
I'm going to summarize a lyric from Guns N' Roses here. A little started with a little, and a little wouldn't do. So a little became a more, and the more is what I do. Mr. Brownstone, Guns N' Roses.
There you go. Yep. But I mean, it's true because people, they hype up for resolutions. By the time the resolution comes around, it really doesn't mean a lot to them. They didn't set their why they're doing it And they didn't because they waited for New Year's.
And not
if it
just
really
that,
meant a lot to them, they would have done it a lot sooner.
so I agree with everything you're saying. The only piece I'd add to that is that I think it's also that they associate a loss with it, like a pain of some kind. The reason they put it off is because they, to your point about the why, they just don't want to do it anymore. It's so scary to them that they say, look, the 31st, I need a point in time that says I'm going to do this, rather than I'm going to start today and I'm going to incrementally get there.
You don't have to like jump in head first. You don't have to be like, this is what I'm going to do, and then cut it all out. And then you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Right? There's the failure already talking in your head. If you do it little by little and work up to that point, you'll be more successful.
I think also defining, because we keep talking about it, but really getting to the root of why you want this change. Like, what does it mean to you? Setting a goal in terms of, for instance, like for me, last year it was the London Marathon, and I went through all these weird emotional stages where I was like, I'm all in. October came around, then I was like, you know what? I just don't want to really do this anymore. And I don't remember why. Like, it just changed. Like, I had a lot going on and things changed. And all of a sudden I realized November-ish that I was like, look, I've always wanted to do this. I need to go all in and do this the right way. I'm fully committed now. And it was going through that cycle of emotions and stuff. Rather than saying I'm going to do it and pushing through, I let my thoughts and my body go through this whole evolution of kind of things of, why am I doing this? Okay, I don't really want to do this now. Now I do. I went through that whole cycle, and now I'm more psyched than ever.
Yeah. Well, and instead you decided to become a spin instructor.
Hey, we all make mistakes.
Hey, you can't say that was a mistake.
No, I'm just teasing. I loved it. And in fact, it was one of those things that I thought was really fun because we started last year becoming instructors and stuff like that. And for me, the goal was to prove to myself at mid 40s that I could do it and be good at it, rather than saying by this date, I'm going to do it, everything else. It was more setting those broader goals of saying, look, I want to be able to do this in my 40s and I want to be successful at it. So it was a change of perspective, and it made it much more enjoyable for me. And when I quit, I think it was September, it sucked, but it wasn't a hard thing because I achieved everything I wanted to.
Right. And it was October.
Thank you. See, Kim is always the scorekeeper.
I just had to fix you. But you went back to way prior to that. When I was in the same boat, whenever I started riding a Peloton, all I wanted to do was become a spin instructor. I loved it that much. I got NASM spin certified, and then I became an instructor, and I loved everything about it. Even having MS and being able to push through it with my leg dropping out, I knew I could do it. And I did it. And then when I had to walk away from it, one day, maybe I'll teach again, but I don't know. I guess if the opportunity arises, we'll face it head on then.
Absolutely. And I think that it sounds like you're sounding a lot like me in the terms of you've achieved what you wanted to do. You proved it. You were great at it. You hit all your markers. So it's less about having to do it and more, like you said, if the right opportunity presented itself, you'll go for it, as opposed to rushing into it. And I think that, when you think about resolutions or goals in general, if you rush into these things, like for instance, one of my favorite things that I deal with is people that lose weight for weddings. And Kelly made a great point the other day about this. And I thought this was really important here. It would be sad to look back in time and that was the best you ever looked. Because most people lose weight and then they get married and then they get overweight and then they look back and they say, oh, I wish I looked that good again. As opposed to using that as motivation to say, look, I'm going to get married. This is the way I want to be and change my life in a certain way, as opposed to just wanting to get pictures a certain way.
You got to look at it as it's not just a temporary thing. It's a lifestyle change is what you have to do. It's not just saying, hey, I want to be like this for a little bit. No, you have to change your whole lifestyle, especially if you do it, you hit that mark, and then you look back at the pictures and you're like, oh, it's a total lifestyle change. I mean, you have to work with it every single day. And do you have temptations? And honestly, do you fail? Sure. But it's how you pick yourself back up again and get back on track.
See, I've always struggled with that word fail in this regard. But I think as long as you're constantly learning and adjusting, you're not failing. You're pivoting, changing course. For instance, I've got a buddy of mine that in December, his son came up to him and they were doing some health class and he's in 4th grade, I think. We're doing this class and he came home and was like, Dad, I'm really concerned about your health because he's a little overweight, high blood pressure and everything. And immediately the next day he reached out, we started talking. He's like, hey, listen, I want to do some of the things that you do. I want to talk talked to you about this, and he has been, I think it's now 3 weeks, something like that, 4 weeks. He's dropped 15 pounds. He's feeling better. He's on track. He's really focused on how he's eating. They were in New Orleans this past weekend, and he made different choices. Yeah, he made different choices than he normally would. And it wasn't like he gave up. He was thinking about it differently. And that is so awesome to watch that change, because it wasn't one of these like, look, I'm getting married in 7 weeks. I got to lose the weight. It's, I'm here for my kids. This is what I want to do and how I want to be perceived. I'm committed now.
It's a lifestyle change. It can't be temporary. It has to be, especially when it includes your health and your body, because you want to be around for those little moments like your friend does with his child. And if his child is the one coming to him saying, Dad, you need to lose some weight, there's concern there. So it's the choices. See, it's the choices that you make, and those choices define you.
Or the choices you don't make, because I coach my youngest son's basketball team, and one of the players on there, he'll take the ball, he'll steal it, but you pass it to him, he's like, he drops the ball every time. He thinks he's like getting hit, and it's just like, what is happening in your brain? Like, you can take the ball from anybody, you can steal it, you can shoot it, you can hold on to it, but the minute someone passes it to you, you're terrified of it. What choice is going on there? Like, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I'd love to know.
I wonder why. Yeah, I'd be curious too. Maybe has he played baseball and he's been hit by a baseball?
No. So he only plays soccer. We've been on the same teams forever. So they've been since, I guess you can start playing, I think at 4 is the first age or whatever. So they played together forever. This is the first year I've ever noticed it in him. And maybe it's because I'm coaching. I never coached before, but it's so funny. Last night, one of the kids passed it to him, and over again, he just went like, he dodged it every time. Yeah. And it was so funny because I talked to him afterwards. I'm like, are you afraid of the ball? He's like, no, I'm not afraid of the ball. I'm like, then do we need to practice catching?
Right.
It was just interesting. So it's a choice. Again, I'm not sure how to correct that choice.
Practice. That's all I got to say, especially to shield away from that. That's interesting.
No, I'm not kidding. Like, he did that, like, I'm going to get hit in the face, and he protects himself.
He shielded himself. Yeah.
If anyone out there has any ideas on this, we'd love to hear, because I'm, first of all, very supportive as a coach, reinforcing good behavior. His parents are super sweet. I'm open to any and all advice.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I'd love to hear our audience's advice too. I mean, wow. Especially, with soccer and stuff, they kick the ball at you, and a lot of the times you'll stop it with your body.
In fact, most of the time you do, because if it goes to your chest or your belly or whatever. And I'll tell you, if you're not expecting it, I mean, you played soccer. If you're not expecting it, soccer balls hurt a lot.
Yes, they do. They really do.
Like, I admire, one of my favorite things to watch is they get up and they head it into the goal, and it's probably going 60, 70 miles an hour right into their head, and they just tap it in. Yeah. They just brush it off like it wasn't anything. And but if you're not expecting that, I mean, how much does that hurt?
I didn't like heading the ball in ever.
I've never liked it.
Well, the do. It didn't work.
Well, it didn't work with the do. And I'm going to be, okay, since we're admitting stuff here, I would always miss and like hit on my temple, and getting hit in the temple. It's just like, if you've never gotten hit in the temple, it is so jarring and it's so disorienting that
you walk away with a headache.
Yeah. And you also kind of you're dazed, right? Like you're just like, what happened? Like there's like a few seconds of your life that you just don't remember, but you got hit.
Yep. I will tell you, when I was a soccer player, I used to love doing the throw-ins.
Okay.
I would do a front handspring throw-in to launch that ball down that field.
Now, for those that don't know, let me walk you through this here because it's so badass.
Awesome sauce
to watch. So what you do is you take the ball over your head, do a full flip forward, you come under that with momentum, and then just chuck it. Unreal to watch.
It is so awesome, and you can chuck it very, very far.
Can you still do that?
Probably not.
Okay, because I'd love to see. High five you, by the way. Like that is.
Well, thank you.
No, that is a bad. Because seriously, like, I mean, first of all, I wouldn't attempt that because I know I'd end up on my face. It is so bad.
Awesome sauce
to watch because I did have a friend when I played in high school that could do it, and it was so elegant and the power, and I was envious to this day, like how cool it looks. So I had no idea. That's a cool thing you can do.
It's pretty fun. I enjoyed it.
Let's go back for a second here and talk about some of the decisions and kind of choices for this year, because I know that we've talked about not setting a resolution for the year in terms of I'm going to set a demarcation point. This is what's going forward. But for goals this year, what are a couple goals that you do have this year that are kind of ongoing that you're
Well, me, I will tell you, I have switched all my eating, but it's not because I want to lose weight or anything. It's for my MS. I am doing more of an anti-inflammatory type eating, more of a Mediterranean style food. I've cut out all sugar. I've cut out all breads, processed foods, all of that because it just inflames my body and it hurts. And I'll tell you, the cooking for some of that Mediterranean style food, it's a lot.
It's laborious.
It really is. What about you?
So, first of all, I really admire that. And I think that's so badass.
Awesome sauce.
Because one of the things that I think people don't appreciate enough is the impact diet can have on you.
Oh, it's huge.
And inflammatory, like no one, like my kids never think about like when they're injured. I'm like, hey, we should cut off sugar. They're always like, Dad, what? And I'm like, it inflames your body. And my daughter finally started getting it. But my two ding dong boys are like, nope, not on board with it. Like their dad, they're very big headed, I guess, in that regard, in terms of stubbornness. One of my goals this year is ongoing because one of the things that I've really wanted to do is get back traditionally into running, but doing it in a way that is holistic to me. So it's more of like a healing thing. It's not just to get out there to run, but it's to really enjoy it like I used to. And so what I've been doing since November actually is training for the London Marathon. But I decided, you know what? Look, I have to commit to a few other things besides that. Like if I'm going to do this, I need to go all out. So I signed up for 2 additional, 1 half and 1 full before then to do it. And it's not to prove to myself that I can do it because I know I can. It's more to remember why I'm doing this and to reinforce those so that when I go to London, I can enjoy it even more. So those are some major things I'm doing this year.
And I'm so excited for you. I'm proud of you because training for a marathon, tell us what your training's like.
The last time I ran a marathon, I think was 15 years ago, if I remember right. I trained very differently for that. I was in a very different state. So I was surfing all the time. I was in a very different physical place where it was just natural. I could just go run 10 miles. And nowadays, because I've been cycling and more well-rounded, my training is actually very different where I stagger it. So Mondays are usually my day off from working out of any kind. It's kind of my recovery day. Then Tuesday through Saturday, I do mixes of things. So Tuesday is a big run day. Thursday is a big run day. Sunday is a big run day. And I gradually progress. I start with 45 minutes on Tuesday. I do usually about an hour and a half on Thursday. And then I try to do up to 2 hours on Sunday. It's less about the distance for me. It's more about consistency. And I try to stay within my heart rate zone of basically 2 to 3. I really try not to hit 4 to just build up consistency and endurance. And then in between those times, I'm trying to do things like we took a class a couple weeks ago, like a Pilates class. So I'm trying to do a Pilates class once a week. And I'm trying to do a little bit more strength training and really focusing on core for 45 minutes or so in addition to that. So I'm really trying to do more of a balanced approach because one thing that I didn't ever appreciate was the importance of having a strong core because as a runner, I never thought about it. I was always in shape. Like it never occurred to me. And then all of a sudden I started having lower back pain. And I realized that if I just changed my core a little bit and move my hips forward just slightly, it changes everything.
Yeah.
Incredibly
so.
Rotate
your pelvic.
But again, I guess for me, I'd heard it so much, Kim, but I never thought about it until I started having pain. I never thought about it. It changed my world. And so that's my training regimen now. And it's made a huge difference in terms of I'm enjoying running again. I feel like I'm naturally getting stronger and my endurance is improving without having to be so regimented like I used to be that it was unfun.
You set a goal for yourself. I think that is huge. You have a goal and now you're working towards that goal. You didn't say, well, I'm going to do this and then show up to run it and be like, without training or anything, you are building yourself up to that goal.
Absolutely. But it's the same thing with you. Like when you talk about the eating, what I think is going to make us both successful, especially in these two endeavors, is that your goal has a really strong why to it. You have a proven result because I remember the first time you started doing this was, I think this week of Christmas or right before. It was somewhere in there you started changing. You were already feeling better. You were already, when we went to lunch last week, you were cognizant more of what you were eating and you were using your food for fuel as opposed to just eating to eat. You know what I mean?
Right.
All those things. It was so cool to watch in you. And like, even the way you talk about it now, you can tell you're going to be successful because you're excited about it. It's not like you gave something up. You've kind of found something new. Is that am I correct?
Nope. It makes perfect sense. And everybody's like, ew, really? You're going to eat a salad over this hamburger and these fries? Yeah. I am, because of how it makes me feel and how it makes my body feel and the energy that I get from it. And yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm liking the meals, even though I know me and you have discussed how long it takes and I don't even care, but I love it. Like even my lunch yesterday, it was chickpeas and I cut up, let's see, cucumbers and tomatoes and I think I put some red onion in there. Yeah, I just made like a little salad. I put a little bit of olive oil on it. I took a picture. I'll have to send it to you. Oh, and some hard boiled eggs.
First of all, it sounds wonderful, like what you're eating. And the other thing is, I want to touch on the cucumbers for a second because I don't know where this came from. I can't find like normal sized cucumbers anymore. They're either like 3 feet long, they look like zucchini, or they're like these
Oh,
little
they're
tiny.
tiny.
What happened to
Yes. I have no idea because that's for a recipe that I was using the other day. I'm like, I need 3 medium size. And
Can you
there was
find it?
like, no, no.
It's weird. And it just seemed to be like overnight because I love cucumbers. And I went to the store the other day, actually Costco. You can get like a bag of really tiny ones, or I'm not kidding. They're probably like 3 feet long. They look like zucchini. Did you find medium sized ones, or did you have to cut a big one, or did
Yeah.
you use the small
Nope.
ones?
I did find medium sized ones finally.
It was just interesting because I don't remember this being a thing like even last year. Like it's just like, you
Well,
know,
and even like zucchini. Zucchini is you either get them, they're massive or they're really, really small. I'm like, I want the in between here, people.
it's interesting because one of the things I found, like when we went to Christmas, whatever it was, a few weeks ago, her family does not eat at all like I do. It was really hard for me to
Okay. Not a lot of people probably eat the way you do, Justin.
fair, but they
Yep.
are, I don't want to say 180, they're probably 170 to the way I eat. It was really a struggle for me to eat meals there because I mean, their Christmas Eve dinner was, or Christmas dinner was steak and potatoes. And I'm like, I don't really eat either of those things. And
You
so
don't eat red meat?
I don't really know. I'm not saying I don't. So, like, I did eat it because there was nothing else really offered, and I didn't want to be rude. Maybe once a month I have red meat at max, and it's not because of like anything other than I don't really enjoy it as much as I used to. Like, I really actually enjoy fish and chicken more. I just do. I find it less heavy, and I find it like a better source of protein for me because, like, I find when I eat red meat, it weighs me down. Like, I actually feel it. I feel like
Does
it
it bloat
takes.
you?
If it bloats me, I just feel like my body's taking a lot to digest it. It takes
Okay.
a lot of energy and I feel like lethargic afterwards. But when I eat like chicken or fish or shrimp or any of those kind of other source of protein, I feel, I want to say clean, but I feel like I've eaten differently.
No, I get that. We're not even eating red meat. So I don't even
That's big for you.
remember. Yes, because we like steak. It's got to be Christmas because we did prime rib for Christmas. So that's probably the last time we had it. And now it's going to be very, very rare that we eat red meat.
For me, I don't miss it. I never sit down and say, man, I wish I had a burger. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I used
Right.
to love burgers.
Right.
I found enough other things that, and my outlook on food has changed that I don't ever miss it. I don't crave it. I don't know. I don't know what to say. And I think you're already on
Well,
that path.
I feel like when you change your palate and you change the way you're eating, then it changes everything. You don't want it and you don't crave it anymore because it's just not what you're wanting to eat, I guess.
Yeah, like I mean, for instance, like a great example was we went to the zoo on Monday because it was a holiday, and the kids all wanted pretzels when we got there, and they wanted cotton candy, and I was like, no, you can get one thing, and they all wanted candy, and I was just like, I get it being a kid, but even as an adult, like I tried a little piece of it, it just doesn't compute anymore, like to me, and I used to love sweet stuff. Like, it's so weird. My palate has changed so much that I just don't even find joy in that anymore, and I
Nope,
think.
I understand that because you've changed.
And I think that's part of what makes not only goal setting, but even if you, let's say you want to have a resolution of some kind, like you really want to commit and change, like you did, your eating habits, which to some people might be considered a resolution because you're changing everything. Not only do you have to be committed, but I think realizing that the process of it will result in a full scale change.
Yeah, it's a total lifestyle change. Well, and I think a lot of it as you don't miss it, has a lot to do with you don't like how it makes you feel. You've been without it for so long that when you try it, you're like, ew. You remember how your head processes it. You remember how you felt whenever you were eating that way, and you've changed that.
Absolutely. For anyone out there going through this sort of thing or debating if you want to do this or not, I think that not only going back to your why, finding all the comfort in it, but also understanding that, like Kim said, you're changing your lifestyle. So it is a big radical change rather than go in and just cut it cold turkey, incrementally work your way there. My recommendation is like, if you want to get off red meat, If you eat it like 4 times a week, go to 3 times and then go to 2 and then go to 1, but don't just go off of it. Find a substitute for it because your body will say,
Right.
okay, I'm giving something up. Well, don't give it up, replace it with something.
Right.
And that thing doesn't
Right.
have to be another meat. If I had a vice in this world, I would eat sweet potatoes and carrots nonstop. That is one of the foods that I get salivating now thinking about. Like, I love sweet
I
potatoes.
love sweet potatoes.
Oh my God. I have like a weird obsession with them. I don't know what it is. I love sweet potatoes and carrots. And so I'm sure like when I was in high school, at one point, I actually started turning slightly a little bit orange because I ate so many carrots. So I was maybe too extreme there, but realizing that you'll find other things that'll fill those voids. So like if you're finding meat and you're trying to get off of that, find something that you enjoy as much, if not more, to substitute for that. And it doesn't have to be a vegetable. It can be a fruit. It can be another thing. It can be an exercise, like whatever it is, find something, but make sure you're not telling yourself you're giving something up. You're just substituting it.
Right. And if you say, I'm giving it up or I can't have this, you're going to want it more. I mean, let's be honest. If you put those restrictions on yourself, oh, I can't have that, you're going to want it more, which means in the end, you're going to fail because by telling yourself, no, you can't, just like a little kid, you tell them no to something, right? That's sitting right in front of them. Don't touch that. They
cruel.
Keep getting closer and closer. And you're like, don't you touch that. And in the end, they do because you didn't move it. You didn't redirect them to something, but you said, no, you can't. Don't set yourself up from failure just right there by saying you can't.
Absolutely. The path to success is starting with a win because I agree with it. I think that that's part of the problem too with a lot of people, especially because I think most people start heading back to the gym and they start talking about just things in general in terms of overall health. They treat it as like, oh, I'm going to give up. Like, I think what's January now, it's now referred to as like dry January or something. Like there's this whole
sobriety.
Yeah, like for January. And I'm like, well, if you can do it January, why not do it February? My brain doesn't work to the point where it says, I'm just going to give this up for a month. It's, well, just give it up. Like if obviously you don't need it, why taunt yourself and say it's just for a month?
One thing I love when it comes to the New Year's, and this is just something that I laugh at so much, is driving by the gyms January 1st. Oh my gosh, the parking lot is so full. It is crazy full to the point where you can't find a parking spot. Then you go back, say February or even a couple weeks later.
I was going to say, January. You can go back now. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's smaller and smaller. And then by the end, you get where I'm going.
My last piece of advice here is just going to be a story about my wife really quickly here, because I told Kim this yesterday, and I think that you guys can all relate to this. And it's especially when you're trying to get in shape. I find I hate being out of shape because it hurts. To get back in shape sucks. We all know it. It hurts, you're sore, you're run down. There's a million things that go on. So my advice to you is when you're starting out, going back in shape, start slow. Don't hit the gym every day because you're going to get sore, you're going to get worn out, and you're going to self-demotivate because it's uncomfortable. Your body doesn't want discomfort. It wants comfort. So start slowly, because Kelly went back to one of her classes. I think it was Thursday, because it was Friday she was leaving. She walked like she was getting off a horse. And today we're recording, she's finally starting to not feel as sore. And that's a week she lost working out. You start small, start even, and not only will you get results quicker, it will last.
Right. Well, and a lot of times when people go in like that, they're done. They're like, nope, I don't like to feel like this. I don't want to feel like this again. I'm done. Right then and there, they give up.
Exactly. So, audience, if you've learned anything today, don't give up. Set goals that are achievable and start small with anything.
Yes.
Don't go cold turkey. Work your way into it to set yourself up for success. So, Kim, I got to tell you.
And no, they got to start today. They don't have to wait for something like New Year's. No, start today. Don't make your goals so crazy, outrageously big that it's going to be hard for you to achieve.
Incrementally set them. When I hit this goal, then I'm going to set this goal. Because the other thing is set yourself up for success always. That is the number one thing I always preach. And Kim and I, it's one of our first things we bonded over was like, just set reasonable expectations, achieve them, and keep raising that bar, and you'll get so much further than you ever imagined.
Yep, it's true. It is absolutely 100% true.
Well, Kim, I thought we crushed it today.
We crushed it every day, Justin. Another thing that we bonded over too is that we're loud.
And awesome.
Obviously.
All right. Well, thank you to everybody out there. Kim, as always. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you, audience. We hope you loved it. We hope we gave you some good tips. If you have additional tips, reach out to us. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know how you go about this journey of setting goals and achieving those goals.
And don't forget to comment on anything that we post as well. And don't forget that we start dropping next week on
Wednesday.
And that concludes today's episode of the Fitness
Manifesto. I know you guys enjoyed it.
And Kim, I want to say thank you to you and to our audience for making this podcast what it is.
Yes, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys.
And stay tuned for the next episode.